Hello, welcome to the debut of Better the Devil You Know podcast. My name is Farhan Ahmed. This could be the first. No, this is the first. This could also be the last podcast that we do. We'll see how it goes. We'll see if I enjoy doing it. Just getting into the habit of creating some YouTube content, videos. So, what we're going to talk about today very quickly is the future of Erik Ten Hag, Manchester United manager for almost 2 seasons now. And after a promising and exciting debut season where we won a trophy, we got into so many finals it was hard to keep up. This time round, we have got into a final, which is a case for the defence, but generally speaking, it's been a pretty miserable, depressing season. Records have been broken, but mostly the wrong kind of records. I'm going to put it out there. As much as I was excited by Erik Ten Hag, and actually really until quite recently I thought he should stay in a job, I actually think the time has come for a change. Here we are going to talk about the 3 reasons why I think Erik Ten Hag should leave as Manchester United manager come the end of the season. So, number 1 is the results have just not been good enough. I think every year there has to be a kind of a minimum threshold that coaches and managers need to reach in order to maintain their jobs. I think that's very standard practice. I think Manchester United have gone very, very far below what would be acceptable. 8th in the league after another big spending summer transfer window. And I think we can discuss the quality of the transfers at a later date. But money has been spent, significant money has been spent on the squad over the last 2 years. And you would expect a lot better return than what we are currently seeing. United have lost 19 times a season, 14 times in the league. The goal difference is -4. That in itself, I think, is a fairly damning statistic. It wasn't that much better last season in the league, although we did have some results we don't really want to talk about on this podcast, which had a significant impact on the overall goal difference. But it is beginning to emerge as a bit of a theme, actually, under the first 2 years of Erik Ten Hag. So, although United have reached an FA Cup final, the way they did it has not been the most convincing. Yes, they did beat Liverpool, and that was a great high. But then we had one of the most, I think, most embarrassing experiences I've had as a United fan in recent memory, being 3-0 up against Coventry City at Wembley and managing to almost lose that game and only scraping by on penalties. That was appalling. So even in the positive case of the FA Cup, I still think it's just not been good enough. Now, again, a case in the defence would be the significant number of injuries. And this goes to my second point as to why I think Ten Hag should unfortunately be sacked, and that is the kind of the general performance level, structure and style of the team. Ten Hag recently has actually said that he decided not to take a pragmatic approach and instead kind of continue to drill this chaotic, high press, but only the forwards kind of formation, which has left United so horribly exposed in midfield. It has created some entertaining moments and games of football, but from a control perspective, and actually if you remember Ralf Rangnick, when he watched the United 3-2 win against Arsenal, that was the first thing he said, is that this United team just is not able to control games. And here we are 2-3 years later and we've got the same kind of issue. He's decided to double down on a strategy and a way of thinking which I'm still not convinced is the right way anyway. And I would understand it more if there wasn't expected to be such significant player overhaul in the summer. But there's going to be a lot of change. So even these routines that he thinks are so important in this, that they're impressing on the players, the teammates are going to change. The people that they're going to be playing with is going to change. There could be as much up to 10 first-team players leaving, and we hear this every season. But I do expect there to be significant a number of outs this season at United. So when United had all the players come back for that very brief short time, and then a lot that got injured, you had the Shaw injury again, the Martinez injuries again, Ten Hag did have a decision there, and he could have made a decision to play a little bit more pragmatically, a little bit more safely, a little bit more dull, yes, but I'm sure United would have ground out more results that way and actually have found themselves in contention for at least a Europa League place, if not a Champions League place. I feel that's very much his decision, and I think it's now the time to be judging those decisions. Certainly at the end of the season, I think he's got that decision wrong. And I think we've seen over the course of this 2 seasons that the style of football just might not be right for the Premier League, and it might not be right for Manchester United. And if there was any sense, honestly, any sense that the green shoots around this style, that we could actually see something exciting, then I would say let's give him more time, because I don't want United to be going through manager after manager. I was really excited by Erik Ten Hag at the start of the season, because I actually thought he was the first decent appointment, shrewd appointment that we'd actually made since Ferguson left. And lastly, the football hasn't been that entertaining to watch. It's not been that entertaining to watch over the last 2 years. It's been kind of entertaining in parts because of the openness of the team, but we've not really had the kind of the enjoyable games that we saw even under Ollie, where there were games you could point to and say, yeah, United are getting, like, you feel like there's progress here with this Ten Hag team the second season. It's not felt like that at all, and there's been a lot of humiliations this season. It's been farcical at times. And my third point, and actually I think is the most important, weirdly, is that the owners didn't choose this manager. Erik Ten Hag is not Jim Radcliffe's, Omar Barada. When Dan Ashworth comes in, Jason Wilcox, he's not their choice. He was the choice of John Murtagh, of Richard Arnold. And that makes a huge difference, because I think the manager is the most important person you can have at a football club. Yes, behind the scenes, very important. We've seen how United struggle. But if you get a top manager in there, I do think on balance, that's probably the most important appointment you can make. So it's a huge decision. And if it's not the person that they chose originally, even if Ten Hag was doing quite well, I would say his job could be under threat, because they may just decide to go a different way. But especially as things have not been going well this season, I think it's very, very likely they would make a change on that, based on that. And if he was auditioning for his job for next season, so that it's that he actually has some authority, because Jim Radcliffe and Ineos, etc., are saying, no, this is the man that we want to double down on. He's not done a very good job, I'm afraid. He'll be out on the X Factor in the first round, singing some very bad notes. So, look, I don't think it's been good enough from Ten Hag. I think it's a real shame, but I think on balance, for those 3 reasons, I think unfortunately it's adios Ten Hag. But I would love him to go out on a high and to win the FA Cup final next weekend. But even if that happens, I think you have to just take a step back and review the progress of the team over the last 2 years. And actually, a one-off trophy here and there does not necessarily mean that the team is progressing in the right way. I think although Arsenal fans are probably going to be disappointed for another season, you would say that even though they haven't won a trophy in the last 4 years, there's been massive progression in that team, where they are now real contenders for the Premier League. I think they've got chances in Europe too, and naturally in the domestic cups as well. That is progress, even if they're not winning trophies. So even if United win an FA Cup, I still think when you look at a hard kind of evaluation of how Ten Hag's done, I think it's time to say goodbye. And with that, so concludes the first video. Thank you, viewer, for watching. If you've made it this far, I look forward to chatting to you again soon. Adios. Bye-bye.